133 days. That is not just a number. It is a lifetime. It is a sentence served in a prison without walls, where the floor is a shifting abyss of freezing salt water, and the ceiling is a burning magnifying glass that never blinks. In the vast, uncaring theater of the Second World War, millions of men fought on land, in the air, and on the decks of steel leviathans. But there was a war within the war, fought not against the Axis powers, but against the elements themselves. A war of silence, thirst, and madness. While history remembers the admirals and the aces, the true definition of survival against the impossible belongs to the men of the merchant navy, men who were torpedoed, oiled, burned, and thrown into the sea, only to sign on to another ship and do it all over again. Some survived 2, even 3 sinkings, defying the statistical probability of death with a stubborn refusal to drown. But one story stands above them all as the ultimate testament to human endurance. This is not fiction. This is the documented, verified, and harrowing account of a man who floated on a wooden square in the middle of the Atlantic for nearly 5 months, fighting sharks with his bare hands and drinking the blood of birds to stay alive. The year is 1942. The Battle of the Atlantic is at its peak. German U-boats are operating with terrifying impunity, hunting in wolf packs that tear through Allied convoys, sending millions of tons of supplies and thousands of men to the bottom of the ocean. The crucial lifeline between the Americas and Great Britain is being severed, ship by ship. In this freezing, hostile expanse, the average life expectancy of a sailor in the water is measured in minutes, not days. Hypothermia, shark attacks, and exhaustion claim them long before thirst does. On November 23, 1942, the British merchant ship SS Benlomond is steaming alone. She is a slow, unescorted freighter, en route from Cape Town to Suriname, crossing the dangerous void of the South Atlantic. On board is a 25-year-old Chinese sailor named Poon Lim, serving as the second steward. He is not a soldier. He has no combat training. He is a civilian, moving cargo to fuel a war machine halfway across the world. At 11:02 a.m., roughly 750 miles east of the Amazon River, the Benlomond's luck runs out. WWII, a German submarine commanded by Kapitän Lieutenant Karl Emmermann, spots the solitary freighter. The attack is clinical and devastating. 2 torpedoes slam into the ship. The explosions are catastrophic. The Benlomond does not just sink, she disintegrates. The ship breaks apart and plunges beneath the waves in approximately 2 minutes. There is no time for lifeboats, no time for distress calls. The boiler explosion rips the vessel open, and suddenly Poon Lim finds himself in a chaotic churn of oil, debris, and screaming metal. He grabs a life jacket and jumps just before the boilers detonate. When he surfaces, the ship is gone. The ocean is silent again, save for the hissing of escaping air and the cries of a few doomed shipmates that are quickly silenced by the sea. Lim is alone. The water is coated in thick, black bunker oil that burns the eyes and lungs. For 2 hours, he treads water, the only speck of life in an infinite blue desert. Then, a miracle. A wooden life raft, roughly 8 feet square, bobs to the surface nearby. It is empty. He struggles toward it, his body coated in sludge, his muscles screaming from the cold. He drags himself onto the wooden slats. This 8-by-8 footbox will be his entire world for the next 4.5 months. The inventory of his survival is pitiful. The raft contains a metal water jug, a few tins of biscuits, a bag of sugar lumps, some chocolate, 2 smoke flares, and a flashlight. It is enough for a few days, perhaps a week if rationed strictly. But Lim does not know that he is about to set a world record for survival at sea. The first week is a test of hope. He scans the horizon every hour, convinced that a rescue plane or a passing convoy will spot him. He eats the biscuits and sips the water sparingly. But the ocean is a busy highway only on maps. In reality, it is a desolate wasteland. By the second week, the reality sets in. The food is gone. The water is gone. The sun begins to blister his skin, turning it into a patchwork of burns and salt sores. His body, once healthy, begins to consume itself. Desperation breeds ingenuity. Lim realizes that to wait is to die. He is no longer a steward. He is a hunter. He takes the canvas cover of the life jacket and tears it into strips to braid a fishing line. But he has no hook. He looks at the flashlight, unscrews the base, and breaks it apart. He takes the wire spring from inside, straightens it, and bends it into a hook. For bait, he uses a piece of biscuit he had saved. The first fish he catches is small, barely a mouthful, but it is life. He eats it raw, forcing the slime and scales down his parched throat. But the real enemy is thirst. The tropical sun beats down with relentless fury. His lips crack and bleed. His tongue swells in his mouth. The rain, when it comes, is a blessing, but it is unpredictable. He uses the canvas from the life jacket to catch rainwater, funneling it into the empty metal tins. But there are dry spells, days where the sky is a mocking, cloudless blue. In these moments, Lim does the unthinkable. He catches sharks. Using the remnants of the first fish as bait, he targets the smaller sharks that circle the raft, drawn by the smell of blood. He reinforces his line with double thickness. When a shark bites, he does not have the strength to pull it in like a fisherman. Instead, he waits. He waits for the shark to thrash and tire itself out. Then, with a burst of adrenaline fueled by starvation, he hauls the shark onto the raft. The animal is pure muscle and teeth, thrashing violently on the wet wood. Lim has no weapon. He grabs the metal water jug, half filled with seawater for weight, and uses it as a bludgeon, striking the shark until it is still. He cuts it open with a knife fashioned from a biscuit tin. He drinks the blood from the shark's liver to quench his thirst. He slices the meat into strips and hangs them in the sun to dry, creating shark jerky. This is primal survival. It is man returning to the top of the food chain in the most hostile environment on Earth. But the physical torture is only half the battle. The psychological toll is heavier. The isolation is absolute. He talks to himself to keep his voice. He counts the days by tying knots in a piece of rope, 1 knot for every day. He watches the moon phases. He hallucinates. He sees feasts, his family in Hainan, the streets of Liverpool. Then comes the moment of crushing betrayal. About a month into his ordeal, a freighter appears on the horizon. It gets closer. Lim waves his shirt, screaming, his heart pounding against his ribs. The ship is close enough that he can see figures on the deck. They look at him. He sees them looking at him. But the ship does not slow down. It does not turn. It keeps steaming. Whether they thought he was a decoy for a U-boat or simply didn't care, they leave him. The engine noise fades, leaving him in a silence louder than a scream. This is the turning point. He realizes that nobody is coming. If he wants to live, he must refuse to die. He faces storms that toss the small raft like a toy, waves crashing over him, threatening to wash him into the black depths. He ties himself to the raft with a rope around his waist. When the raft capsizes, he fights through the suffocating foam to flip it back over, climbing aboard exhausted, shivering, and alone. 90 days pass. 100 days. The knots in the rope grow numerous. His clothes rot off his body. He is naked, his skin hardened by salt and sun to a dark leather. He is a skeleton wrapped in wire, but his eyes are alive. He has developed a routine, a discipline. He exercises to keep his muscles from atrophying. He keeps the raft clean. He maintains his sanity by forcing order onto chaos. On April 5, 1943, the color of the water changes. It shifts from the deep, terrifying blue of the abyss to a lighter, paler green. The texture of the waves changes. Birds appear, not the wandering albatross of the deep ocean, but coastal birds. Lim knows what this means. Land. 3 days later, he spots a sail. It is not a warship, and it is not a merchant vessel. It is a small fishing boat. He waves his tattered shirt. The boat turns. 3 men, Brazilian fishermen, approach the strange wooden square. They see a wild-looking figure, emaciated but standing, waving at them. They pull him aboard. Poon Lim had drifted for 133 days. He had traveled over 750 miles. He had lost 20 pounds, but he could still walk. When he landed in Belém, Brazil, doctors were astounded. Men who spent 2 weeks in life rafts often died or required months of rehabilitation. Lim walked off the boat. His survival was a medical and psychological anomaly. He had beaten the ocean. His story became legend. The Royal Navy studied his methods. His technique for catching birds and distilling water. His discipline, his refusal to drink seawater. All of it was incorporated into survival manuals. He was awarded the British Empire Medal by King George VI. But the most chilling testament to his ordeal came from Lim himself. When told that no one had ever survived that long on a raft, he simply replied, "I hope no one will ever have to break that record." The story of Poon Lim is more than a war story. It is a testament to the indomitable human spirit. In a war defined by technology, radar, and massive firepower, one man survived with a piece of wire and a biscuit tin. He proved that while the ocean can break ships of steel, it cannot easily break the will of a man who decides he is not ready to die. He remains the ultimate symbol of survival, a lone spark of life in a graveyard of water, enduring the impossible, day after agonizing day.